Hi there, that's right, my name's Nick Dutch, back on the camera again one more time. Standard introduction in place. Today we're going to try a little experiment. And I'm kind of like bracing myself for this. It's a Thunderfoot video experiment. You see, Thunderfoot's released a video called coughlan616 and Other Critics, for those of you who understand the YouTube politics the way they are at the moment. I'm much more in favour of the argument which is expressed by coughlan616 than the argument expressed by Thunderfoot. I haven't heard this particular video by Thunderfoot before or yet, so I'm not doing a prepared piece of work. I'm just going to shoot my answers bit by bit, and I'll do what I traditionally do, and that is to play the video, stop it once in a while, comment as I go on, and you'll be able to see all the fun facial expressions and the rest of it that I happen to pull. I'm also hoping to be able to do this video unedited and also within the first take. So let's see what happens.
So this guy issues his weekly veiled death threats.
We Muslims, the servants of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and our non-Muslim allies, will send you to the God that you wish you knew.
And gets his ass handed to him on a platter.
Okay. This was not Ali having his arse handed to him on a platter. It was you having your arse handed to you, Mr. Thunderfoot, on a platter, because this was not a thinly veiled death threat. I mean, all kudos to you for sticking to your argument, and some people say in the Discord it's wise to stick to your argument. But your argument is rubbish.
Then, months later, it turns out that after he failed to bullshit people on the public forum and YouTube ignored his whiny little complaints, and the legal guys just weren't interested, that he's still hunting for my docs in order to find out who I am, such that having appointed himself as this sole moral authority, that he can try and screw up my professional life.
Well, wait a second. You've got no proof that this is about his professional life. Right? You've got no proof whatsoever. Essentially, the way I understand it, if there is some kind of serious damage which is being done to an individual, you've got a legal right to try and find the contact details of that individual so you can start legal processes, I mean proper legal proceedings. So this is a misrepresentation on the part of Thunderfoot because there's no precise evidence apart from possibly the live blog TV session when DPR Jones laid into Ali and essentially basically made him break down, which was a thoroughly unethical form of behaviour which should only be reserved for the most hardened criminals in a court of law, and certainly should not be done on a blog TV session when essentially there is the need to have an open discussion. And also, it is Thunderfoot who hasn't actually responded to Ali and actually participated in live conversation either over Skype or over blog TV or anything at all. Alright, so it's Thunderfoot who's been acting like a child and has been acting thoroughly unethically. So I'm just going to get the light on here so you can see me better. So already I'm incredibly pissed off, and we're at what, 38 seconds into the video?
Yeah, it's a pretty simple guy gets caught acting as jerk equation. And the comment...
Yeah, the guy who's got caught acting as a jerk is yourself. And the critics who are against you need to have their voice heard, because your opinions here are thoroughly wrong.
And ratings reflected that.
Well, no. You've got fanboys, okay? I mean, on the screen here, Thunderfoot is showing the number of, thumbs ups as opposed to thumbs down, and it's a massively disproportionate number of positive thumbs up. But that is not a marker of anything. The people who subscribe to Thunderfoot would be, to the most part, people who actually like his stuff, people who've got the same kind of bigoted extremist mindset, and are therefore more likely to thumb something up rather than thumb something down. Alright, that is not representative of the facts. It is a very bad piece of evidence.
Strange thing was, though, that the video responses were more or less a population inversion of this. So to put an end to this, I would...
Yeah. The reason being is that not everyone who watches your shit is a subscriber to your views.
I went on a blog TV last week, and 1,000 or so people, enough to constitute a representative sample, turned up.
No, this is not a representative sample. These are people who are interested in a certain argument or a certain happening on YouTube. You cannot say it's a representative sample because it's not a stratified sample of the population in terms of age, in terms of gender, in terms of socioeconomic status, in terms of ethnicity or background. It is just 1,000 people who are probably, to the most part, your white Anglo-Saxon individuals who happen to have an issue with Muslims and want to see someone getting beaten up. So this is a lousy sample, and if you think that's a representative sample, you are a fucking awful scientist.
And I invited the chief detractors to put their best man and their best argument forward. And yeah, this included Dawa Films himself. All takers welcome. And this went on for 6 or so hours.
I love the way he says, this went on for 6 or 7 hours. As if the quantity of time you spend in the blog TV show is, again, representative of the authority of the blog TV show in terms of the quantity or quality of information. So he's provided statistics of the number of people who thumbed up his video as, proof positive, which of course it isn't proof positive. He's provided the number of people who are watching this drama on blog TV as being proof positive, which of course it isn't proof positive because it's not a representative sample of anything. And now he's saying that because it went on for 6 or 7 hours, it's somehow a good thing. I mean, what a heap of shit.
The harsh critics put on a poor show with this guy called Shredder is Alive heading the bill, and I'll post that video as well. Indeed, no one who turned up actually really had any interest in trying to defend Dawa Films. Not even this Shredder is Alive guy.
My initial reason was not to come on and defend Ali under any circumstances.
Yeah, it was pretty much like this.
Well, wait a second. So now Thunderfoot has quite blatantly, and I mean quite blatantly, quote mind, because he's just taken a few seconds of what Shredder was talking about, not the whole thing. Now, if you've watched Shredder's Alive's videos before, you would see how critical they were of the arguments of Thunderfoot and how much they're in favour of trying to create basically a level playing field. So this is another bullshit tactic coming out by Thunderfoot. And this is extreme. And this is from a guy who's supposed to be a scientist and should know his stuff. He's demonstrated he doesn't understand what a representative sample is. He's demonstrated that he doesn't know what good information is, or what can actually prove that an argument is good. And yet this man is supposed to be a scientist. Really.
Dawa Films guy was just the gelling agent that held together this hardcore of Thunderfoot detractors.
No, it's not because of your attitude against Dawa Films, it's because of your attitude against an entire ethnic group. Oh dear. I'm just going to show you what's on screen now very briefly. See that? It says there, I'm not alone in spotting this. So, there's other people who've got stupid ideas.
Now, over the last months, the chief of these critics has been a guy called coughlan616. A guy who's previously had his channel banned for being a little too offensively outside the envelope.
Is that true? I thought there was false flagging campaigns. I thought there was false DMCA complaints. There's nothing that makes me think that he had his channel closed down because he was too close to the knuckle. The video which actually got his channel suspended, if I remember rightly, was actually a very academically driven, well-researched video about the adult industry. And so you can't really say that he was being too close to the knuckle. This is, again, a lie.
Anyways, I've given this guy a fairly wide berth, simply as he appears to be unstable, and as he arguably seems to be suffering from history.
I'm sorry, but this is just too over the top. You've given him a wide berth because he seems to be unstable. Have you taken a fucking mirror and looked at yourself, mate? Jesus Christ. Oh. Unstable. He's got a good argument. You called him a whiny little emo core in a live blog TV session because he actually had an argument. And he actually had some well-researched facts about the blasphemy laws in the UK. And that's why you did it, because he had facts which disproved your argument, Mr. Thunderfoot. You're a lying, cheating, stealing, evil bastard. I'm telling you that for nothing.
Chronic personality disorder.
What are the signs of histrionic personality disorder? A person with histrionic personality disorder is going to be attention-seeking, and that attention...
Wait a second. So now he's playing a video from some kind of psychologist or other, and is showing a video of Coughlan putting on one of his entertainment acts with makeup on his face at the same time. It's very clever propaganda. Now, if you remember when Venom Fang X actually dressed himself up like the Joker and was portrayed himself on camera that way, he was doing that for a particular reason, and that was actually misrepresented. Now, I'm not trying to defend Venom Fang X in this particular case, but what I am doing is highlighting the fact that this particular YouTube user named Thunderfoot has got this desire to misrepresent people using imagery that was made for one purpose, and he is portraying it as if it's done for another purpose. Now, as far as attention seeking, this is a YouTube user and he's a comedian. Alright, he wants to be in the public eye. He's going to do that. It's not a question of a personality disorder, it's a question of knowledge of his industry. This is again another heap of shit coming from Thunderfoot.
It does not have to be good attention. It can be bad attention. Any attention at all is better than none. They need to be the center of attention. They will constantly be drawing attention to themselves.
And you're not Thunderfoot. Your series, Why Do People Laugh at Creationists? That was not drawing attention to yourself. Oh no, of course not under any circumstances whatsoever. No. That was merely just expressing a particular argument. Bullshit. You knew that there was an argument there, you knew there was an audience there, you knew that you could try and get an audience that way, and that's what you did. It's you who's got the personality disorder, Mr. Thunderfoot.
Will make scenes. They may control relationships by being very dramatic and theatrical. They can appear very needy and...
This is getting even worse, because now, you know Richard Coughlan had his bit of a nervous breakdown on camera. Now Thunderfoot is expressing this with the voice of the psychologist in the background, so it's not good stuff. I mean, this is pure evil propaganda, and it's smearing his character. This is not good at all.
Dependent.
I mean, sure, a guy in need of medication might make entertaining videos, but that's really not the sort of guy I share much of an overlap with. Anyway, his craving for attention goes back to him initiating this spat with the amazing atheist, and that resulted in Coughlan uploading what can only be described as a pitiful video, where he essentially...
Okay, yeah, I mean, during that particular case, I would say that Richard Coughlan was probably learning more about what YouTube drama is about and the fact it can actually help to gain some publicity. But essentially, Mr. Thunderfoot, you're also creating a hell of a lot of YouTube drama with this video, so essentially you've got the same problem, you know, just before you accuse me, take a look at yourself kind of thing. I mean, this is just... Getting a little pissed off now.
Actually begged to be left alone because of his emotional frailty, weakness and instability. And
yeah, okay, so he's a guy who works hard, he's got other pressures in his life, and he doesn't need to have any hassle, so he wants to just take a break. So essentially that's what he did. What's wrong with you, Thunderfoot?
Because he couldn't handle the criticism, and because of all the psychiatrist couches that he'd been on.
I've sat on enough couches and had enough fucking tests and been told by enough fucking doctors to say what my thoughts are. I don't need you. I don't need you to fucking tell me.
Indeed, there was almost a rerun of this event when he tried to attack Pat Condell.
Pat Condell, you are a fucking joke.
People paid little attention to him, but the back...
Well, wait a second. So, you know, he's shown a scene of Richard Coughlan having his little problem. And then he's shown us just one short scene of Thunderfoot saying to Pat Condell, "You're an effing joke." I don't see the correlation there. I seriously don't see the correlation there at all. Because that's what Pat Condell is. He is a complete and utter effing joke in every possible way. He's an unpleasant individual He's got incredibly undesirable politics. He doesn't actually know where he's coming from, and essentially that particular moment when Richard Coughlan was essentially swearing at Pat Condell is completely unrelated in terms of context and background to what was actually happening out there in the world. So what Thunderfoot is doing is he's creating drama. He's smearing it. He's basically defaming a character, because obviously this is what he enjoys doing, as he's done with our films. You know, he's actually defaming a character, attacking an individual on a very deep level, but not very academically, and just making matters worse for himself and everyone else on the face of YouTube. I mean, God Almighty.
Flash had Coughlan making this nearly tearful emotional appeal for sympathy.
But I could go on for another hour with some of the shit I've had to put up with.
Now, I could have...
Right, and now that particular excerpt from a Coughlan video was when he was about to talk about how bad the atheists have become and how extremist the atheists have become. Again, it's not really connected to the issues at hand. So what is Thunderfoot doing? It's a misrepresentation, it's a straw man argument, it's defamation of character, it's wrong. This man is just being wrong.
Sort of empathised with that if he hadn't actually started these spats himself in the first place.
No, it's not a question of him starting the spats in the first place. He was disagreeing with arguments based upon, research and finding things out. It's not just a question of starting spats, it's a question of actually fighting for what's right. Then can't you see that, for crying out loud?
But then he compounds matters by persistently hosting these ownage Olympics where he actively encourages others to deliver the scrutiny to others that he so tearfully couldn't handle himself.
No, that isn't actually necessarily the case. In his ownage Olympics, he says we're going to focus in on the argument, okay? What he couldn't handle himself was not a question of good arguments being given to him. They were insults, they were personal attacks, they were all kinds of other things. So this is again another misrepresentation. Now, if anyone out there says that atheists don't do intellectually dishonest broadcasting, this video by Thunderfoot is actually proof that that is a lie.
And he's also got this habit of directing fans to videos on smaller channels critical of him, which is kind of bullying, really.
No, it's not a question of bullying, and often the people who are critical of him have had a terrible argument and a terrible point of view, a terrible political point of view. So what you're trying to do, Thunderfoot, is trying to dissuade people from criticising views which are politically inappropriate. Now that is within your character, because your views are politically inappropriate.
Guy also craved, for some reason that I've never really fully understood, attention from me. With it being an open secret that the guy desperately, for months, wanted me to subscribe to him.
Why have you not subscribed to my fucking channel?
Alright, so now what Thunderfoot is doing is showing a piece of comedy, which is satire based upon what happens on YouTube. And this is a bit of theatre that was created on the Rockchard channel using a bit of computer game imagery. And it was comedy, and that's all it was meant to do. It's not a question of seeking attention from Thunderfoot. I don't think, considering what Thunderfoot has become, anyone would want to seek attention from Thunderfoot.
Just not my cup of tea. You subscribe to Ominous Voice. He's funny, he makes me laugh. Almighty Atheismo, what's your excuse for subscribing to that bogey bum?
So basically, Thunderfoot is someone who can't distinguish fantasy from reality. And he's accusing Richard Coughlan of having mental disorders. Peculiar.
Paid me. Me and you, in the ring, in a fight. If I beat you, you have to subscribe to my channel.
Eventually, I think mostly out of frustration, he decided that if he couldn't get this attention by praising me...
This is an apology to Thunderfoot and other YouTube Thunderfoot from...
Right, so now he's showing another comedy video that was done purely out of satire and just for a laugh, and Thunderfoot is taking it seriously. What kind of a twisted individual is Thunderfoot?
Myself to him, Thunderfoot.
he would get it out of spitting at me.
I don't like Thunderfoot. There's no real fucking secret there.
And this he has done persistently.
Because your views are appalling, Mr. Thunderfoot. I mean, and it's been based upon your views, your values, your politics, where you get your information from, your ideas, and essentially good arguments. You are a despicable individual, Thunderfoot, whether you like it or not.
Going so far as to actually fabricate quotes and then attribute them to me. And we're not talking minor fabrications here. This is what he actually had up on his Twitter account, as a direct quote.
Okay, yeah, this is a screenshot, and it says here in inverted commas, from Richard Coughlan, presumably. It doesn't actually say, which is interesting. In inverted commas, I fear that an economic collapse could lead to the Muslims taking over just like the Nazis, in inverted commas. Thunderfoot on Blog TV, lols. Now, whether Thunderfoot actually said that or not is completely and utterly irrelevant, I think, because this is coming from a comedian. I think one of his Twitter posts many months or years ago was on the phone with DPR Jones wanking hard, which is obviously there for comedy effects, okay, not for anything else. So sometimes you've got to take some things which come out from Richard Coughlan with a pinch of salt. To call this a serious attack from Richard Coughlan to you, Thunderfoot, is another misrepresentation. I mean, the whole bloody video is just this cacophony of extreme misrepresentations. It is evil.
From me, I fear that economic collapse could lead to the Muslims taking over just like the Nazis, supposedly quoted from Thunderfoot on Blog TV. And yeah, not content to just make up such bullshit and attribute it as a direct quote to me, he then goes on to confirm this to Straight Dope by saying, yeah, that's what he said. But that's not the end of it. He also made up some bullshit about me deleting video responses.
It's become apparent recently that Thunderfoot has been removing video responses to his Draw Muhammad Day video that depicted him as the Prophet Muhammad.
I've had people saying the same things on a video I did about Thunderfoot. Maybe it's not just rumour.
3 different users.
Also in terms of comments as well as in terms of the videos. So, is this something Thunderfoot should be bringing up?
That I know of. One of them had it done to him 3 times. And he even did it to a video I uploaded on a sock account after I heard about this. You can take that or leave it.
And yeah, the little attention seeker did this at the height of the Draw Muhammad Day thing. Naturally, I did what was necessary at the time and stayed on target, not getting distracted away from the primary goal of making the event a success.
And you call certain countries in the Middle East censoring the entire internet because of your little stunt of success to you?
By some unstable emo troll attention whore. But that really did piss me off. To say that I've not put a lot of effort into building the reputation by track record alone of this channel as defending free speech is an understatement. And the fact...
Defending free speech?
The fact that he was more than happy to casually use this commodity as emo whore collateral really does say everything about the character of the guy. I mean, yeah, I invested a lot into Draw Muhammad Day. You know, the Islamic world isn't particularly known for its sense of humour on such subjects, with people actually having to go into hiding.
Yeah, and you're obviously not well known to understand what a sense of humour is. I mean, there's such a thing as... You've taken a comedy sketch and you've represented it as if it was a fact. And a fact of opinion. Where's your sense of humour, Thunderfoot?
Or worse on such matters. So yeah, there's me doing my best to actually make this event a success, to make it clear that we and the internet are not subject to Islamic blasphemy laws, with all the personal risk that that entails. And then there's the...
Personal risk. Some geezer behind a camera. Come off it.
This emo troll happily and malevolently throwing a fictional spanner into the works. Just
You're saying it's a fictional spanner because you haven't seen a screenshot. Is that all? Do you actually know what you've done, Thunderfoot? Do you actually know?
so he can indignantly garner some personal attention. And recently, and maybe most ironically, I was recently disappointed by the fact that the majority of the comments on a chat between myself and one of the world's foremost atheist bloggers was more about what I was wearing than what we talked about.
Yeah, because like people find things to have a laugh about, okay? That's it. If you can't handle that, Thunderfoot, grow up.
And Coughlan strawmanned this, as he routinely does when presenting his criticism.
Strawmanning? After all you've done, I mean, we're at, what was it, 8 minutes and 4 seconds. 8 minutes and 4 seconds into this video, and it's been pure strawman all the way through.
That I was hurt because of people's opinions about what I was wearing.
Well, you obviously are, because you're bringing it up in this video.
Why do you care then what people care whether you look like? I mean, this is warrants a video from you, whining and complaining about being a sad bunny because people make fun of you.
And that I
Which is a valid point. And that's what Richard Coughlan is actually quite well known for. Valid points.
should.
But other than that, Thunderfoot, man the fuck up.
I mean, how fixated does a man have to be to spit on you when this person...
You need to be... No, I actually respect the people I fucking interact with. Whining and complaining about that guy.
Oh, God. Thunderfoot, you're really asking for trouble now.
I'm worried if I don't make those videos, then I sit there and I get it off my chest. If I don't do that, then I don't know what to fucking do anymore. I don't know what I'm fucking getting rid of it. And being a sad bunny because I've sound enough.
Alright, there's a strong difference between yourself, Thunderfoot, promoting yourself as being this voice of reason and logic, and then complaining because someone doesn't like your clothes, and then Richard Coughlan actually having a massive nervous breakdown because he's gone through so much, because of personal, serious attacks. Not just commenting about his clothes, it was much more intense. Alright? Well, can't you see that there is a distinction there?
She's not enough fucking tests me told by enough fucking doctors DJ what my thoughts are. I don't need you. I don't need you to fucking tell me. But other than that, Thunderfoot, man the fuck up. Man the fuck up. Man the fuck up.
Yes, Coughlan is right. Thunderfoot should man the fuck up. But now he's just being a bully and a dishonest thug.
The evidence of argumentation used by atheists in, to me, smacks of hypocrisy.
Yup, when this internet tough guy is telling you to man up over some strawman argument he's just defeated that
No.
never existed anywhere outside of his head. And all of this because I wouldn't subscribe to a man in need of medication.
No, it wasn't because of that. You are lying. Thunderfoot, you are lying. If anyone says that Thunderfoot tells the truth after watching this video, they are pathetic. Okay? If you say Thunderfoot... I had someone say in a comment on one of my videos, Thunderfoot says the truth. Just think about what I've just discussed here. Has Thunderfoot been saying the truth? No.
Okay. You've been complaining about Thunderfoot for, what is it, like 6 months that he wasn't sent to you?
Yeah.
And now you have ownage.
And with a track record like this, you know, where one's primary objective is to score some attention, all other considerations secondary, he wonders why I give him a wide berth. It was...
No. The imagery that's come up with those words were all because I called him a whiny emo whore. Okay? And that's like calling a shit smelly. That's what Thunderfoot is doing. All of this based upon very strong misrepresentations of the facts, of the history, of everything. Thunderfoot does not tell the truth.
This sort of vociferous critic who I invited to bring their best case, and I spent 6 hours addressing such folk, even though there were very few takers from the hard critic camp, and of those who were vocal critics there may be iconified by this guy called Shredder is Alive.
Dear Thunderfoot.
There were,
Yeah, that's right. Shredder is Alive raised both middle fingers and blew a raspberry. And that's essentially a very good expression of the kind of treatment which you deserve, Thunderfoot. I'm sorry. God help.
of course, some interesting and thoughtful conversations. It's just none really by this group unified by Dawa Films.
No, we're not unified by Dawa Films. We're unified by your attitude against an entire minority, against your rhetoric, against the style of broadcasting that you do, and the kind of views and values which you are trying to encourage in the outer world. Things which happen on YouTube spill over into reality. If one person gets beaten up, one innocent person who's just got a darker skin, just because of what you're saying on the internet, then everything that you're doing is wrong. Absolutely everything that you're doing is wrong, Thunderfoot, and you've really got to just shut the fuck up.
Unfortunately, the only ones that survived were recorded by others, since Blog TV didn't record properly, and I've hosted the more interesting ones, those that survived. Based on the Blog TV session, it appeared to me that the vast majority of these detractors are a tiny, unobjective, and highly vocal minority.
I think that we're actually growing in numbers, we're growing in strength, and we are not necessarily a minority, but the views which you are exponing, well, is exponing the right word? The views which you are promoting, Thunderfoot, are a minority view, and it is predominantly because you are attracting Islamophobic, extremist, right-wing bastards, and that's just plain wrong, especially for someone who believes that he is promoting reason and science and atheism and all that kind of stuff.
And this is maybe exemplified by the thoughtful and eloquent argument put forward in their recent collaboration video. Yeah, the most prominent of these Thunderfoot detractors really did think it was worth putting the effort into making this collaboration video.
That's a very
Sure, these are the core folk who usually vocally inquire why I never respond to critics.
Yeah, that's because we've tried, we as in those who don't like you, Thunderfoot, have been trying our hardest to look directly at your arguments and saying that they were wrong. We've been trying, people within this camp have tried to be civil, and you would not respond to civility. And so now we're taken to just being rude, because essentially that's probably something you will pay attention to.
Do another one of these Blog TV sessions to engage the more thoughtful critics at some point, but I think it's fair to say that everyone in this collaboration video doesn't fall into that category.
That's his response to someone. Hence the confusion. Dear Thunderfoot. We are taking it one step further.
Consider yourself peer-reviewed.
These are all the people who participate in the video and blown raspberries. I think we can move beyond that, because I want to hear what people are saying. Right, okay. Yeah, just more raspberry bits. Okay, so essentially, Thunderfoot is using this as being criticism of his critics and of the arguments of his critics. Okay, now, what have we learned from this? Number one, Thunderfoot does not tell the truth. Number two, Thunderfoot is someone who is dishonest and misrepresents history, misrepresents what has actually happened in various different situations here on YouTube. What else can we say about him? He's aggressively defending himself, and he's just plain lying, basically. I mean, there's nothing good about this production he's done, and there's nothing good about his desires or ability to defend himself. This 14 minutes and a few seconds video is sad. It's pathetic. This is an academic individual, or an allegedly academic individual, who doesn't seem to have the capacity to be able to behave like one. And as a result of that, I don't think that anyone should invest any trust in him whatsoever. This is a sad, twisted, bigoted, right-wing fundamentalist, and I personally don't have any respect for him. I've shown you my opinion, I've shown you my arguments. Considering how unpleasant Thunderfoot is being, his detractors have the upper hand here with this argument. And even if it is just them raising a middle finger and blowing a raspberry, that is the appropriate gesture to a broadcaster of this type and of this caliber. This has been Nick Dutch. I hope you've enjoyed the video. God bless.